Greetings everyone, welcome back to Blade Bias. Today we're going to be taking a look inside this package brought to you by Ted Flips. Ted Flips, keeping this channel alive single-handedly since 2022. Excuse me. This is the glider package that they actually started sending their Balisongs out. I don't actually know. Has anyone bought a glider Balisong recently? Do they still do this? I know they sent this out with like might have been the Pacific. I think maybe the Arctics might have overlapped a little bit with when they created this. I think maybe the Antarctic as well. I don't actually remember. I just remember that they made these cases and I was like, oh, I kind of want to buy another glider now because this was back far enough that I actually was still using my Arctic on a regular basis. But inside, not only do we have yet another Balisong from Zippy to talk about, but we have this, kind of keeping with the theme of this week's Blade Bias uploads, a Balisong that flew under the radar, but not necessarily everyone's radar. This is more a Balisong that flew under my radar. This is the Maranza Zika. This is a collaboration between Ceroni Knives and Acidwrx. So the creator of Paul, the creator of the why can't I think of the name as soon as I turn on the camera? The Zyzix teamed up with Ceroni Knives to make this, and it was, I guess, named after the virus that mosquitoes can carry, and the scales have like a pattern in them that mimic mosquito wings. Yeah, I have a spec sheet here that Ted sent with this, and it literally says mosquito wing pattern G10 scales. So that's fun. This is a grade 5 titanium Balisong with an S35 VN stainless steel blade on bushings, 4.2 ounces with weights with a handle length of 5.5 inches. The titanium, this is interesting, was made in Italy. The scales that you see here were produced by Freedom Fabrication, so fellow YouTuber The Buffness Flips fabrication Balisong company. And then it was assembled, I'm assuming, by Paul in the USA. What a knife. And the reason that I say that this thing flew under the radar is because this was actually a nominee for this year's Bally of the Year award, or I guess I should say last year's Bally of the Year award. And I had no idea what it was in the slightest before I was doing the nominations, which is the reason that we do nominations, because a lot of times things will fly under my personal radar that the community still thinks is worth getting nominated for an award. And this was no different, I guess. So the Maranza Zika, a Balisong that you guys thought deserved Balisong of the Year last year, and that Ted was so gracious to send out so that I could check out and satiate my curiosity, going from not knowing this thing at all to seeing it in contention for Balisong of the Year, which is pretty cool. Congratulations to Paul, Ceroni, and an extension to Freedom Fabrication. This thing looks pretty cool, I can't lie. I like the blade shape. I'm not totally a fan of how this groove here seems to get like cut off and exposed to the rest of the knife, especially since it is like off center, it seems like. But it's not a huge deal. I am kind of nitpicking. Unlike the Zyzix, this is not a $1,000 Balisong. This retails on their website for $450. Still expensive, but definitely within the realm of like genuinely decent deals for titanium Balisongs, right along with the Sliff T. But does it remain functional like the Sliff T? Let's find out. It's got Zippy inserts in here, so I guess Zippy also supports this. But let's be real, Zippy supports everything in the hobby. Machining feels pretty decent. There's not a huge chamfer on the blade. Oh yeah, that chaplain is really rough. I don't know if this is sharp or not. It feels very dull, but it also, I don't know. Let's give this thing a flip. It chaplained pretty well just now, besides for the huge discomfort, mostly from this Zen nipple right here. I wish Balisong companies would learn not to put Zen nipples right where your finger goes when you're chaplaining, but oh well. It's not as awful. It actually chaplains really well as far as the balance goes. Fans really well too. Okay, this thing, actually, I'm quite enjoying the balance for the first 2 seconds that I'm flipping this. As usual, disclaimer, this is just my first impressions. I just like to give you guys a direct view into my experience with a knife out of the box. This is not my full and final opinion. That will come in a later follow-up video, but so far this is extraordinarily uncomfortable. Holy cow. Yeah, the Zen Cup right here on the blade, not doing any favors for the chaplain. But doing even less favors for the chaplain is the fact that there's basically no chamfer on this blade. There is a chamfer, if you see the light is catching it, but it's very, very small. And doing it even less favors is the fact that the sides of these scales are very sharp. They're rounded a little bit, but when you're spinning a balisong around your finger at a high speed like that, it doesn't feel too great. I won't focus on that for now. Let's actually just take a look at the rest of the machining. The inside of the channel feels not awful. A little sharp maybe, but probably on par with some other of the cheaper Ceroni stuff that I've tried. It was Ceroni, right? Yes, Ceroni. It's interesting that I wish I was more familiar with Ceroni's lineup. They don't generally make balisongs in this price range. I'm remembering the TI tracker that existed back in the day, the one with the ink that you could put in the blade. It was a trainer blade, but it had red ink that you could use as like a bite handle indicator, which was fascinating at the time. And still is to this day. I just don't remember how much that retailed for. And also look at how that's pretty. There is no handle gap or pivot gap. It's like magic. It's like they're just phasing through each other. That's kind of cool, actually. I like that. I like the overall look and presentation of this thing. I'll have to ask Ted in between this video and the next, or maybe he'll leave a comment here. What's up with the scales? If he got them like this, if he switched them. I mean, they look cool. I didn't think I would like the blue and like the more Ultem color together. I do have to say the balance is really doing something for me. There's a lot of tip weight here, owed to the fact that the blade kind of spreads out as it goes up, and it still is decently thick towards the top. And there's a ton of weight in the handles here. There's a lot of momentum to play with, both in the handles and in the blade, which I really, really like. It's probably one of my favorite weight distributions. I like to call it outer weighted, where there's weight spread towards the outer areas of the balisong in the ends of the handles and the tip of the blade. There's a lot of momentum to be used for things like fans and rollovers. You can flip it kind of slower and it won't really kind of stop and wear itself out, run out of energy, run out of momentum for you to use to keep flipping. I actually really like the balance on this thing so far, but it is massively let down by the overall feel of it in the hand. It's very G10-y and blocky, and it's square, not in the way of like, well, I guess it is. No, it's got rounding in the scales. The scales actually have a nice shape to them. It's just that the sides are so flat and the corners are so cornery. What does that mean? I have no idea. So it ends up being a balisong that I really actually enjoy flipping, but not for any until I hit the tip of the blade somehow against my ring finger. Thank goodness this thing isn't sharpened. Yeah, I enjoy flipping it, but not for a extended period of time because it's just wildly uncomfortable. It sounds really good, and it's tuned pretty well. Like, I can't say that this is... I don't know. I think with a little bit more comfort. I need to figure out... I think this is something I'm going to have to figure out for the... You can already see my finger. Maybe you can't see it, but my finger is very chafed, I guess. It's chapped now from flipping this, just for the short time that I have already. I'm trying to figure out if this is the scales, if it's the blade, if it's the sides of the channel. I don't think it's the titanium. The titanium feels fairly standard to me. It feels like normal titanium. There's no like crazy sharp corners there. The scales, I think it is the scales, because the corner doesn't feel sharp here, just running your finger along it. But like I said, when you're doing chaplains, that's digging into your finger in a whole different way. And 0Gs are actually especially getting me. And then you combine that with that Zen cup there. It's just not overall terribly pleasant. I'm wondering how this would feel with different scales. I will say, in terms of the scales, it doesn't have that typical G10 chalkiness that I usually hate so much. I'm curious how much of that is owed to the fact that these zippy inserts are in here and my finger's kind of touching that instead. But G10 remains to be something that I'd just never fully love on a Balisong. I mean, I really can't get over how much I do genuinely enjoy the balance here. It's very neutral. It fans really well. It choker fans really well, but it sticks to your fingers also in rollovers. So you're not losing performance because it fans well. It's got a really, really good momentum in both the blade and the handles that I really enjoy. But man, is it just kind of a pain to flip, literally. It's not like the Slift T, where the Slift T has all these chamfers and everything that, oh my gosh, this thing feels genuinely like velvet to the touch. That's insane. Holy cow. I love the dichotomy of flipping a Balisong that is just uncomfortable, even just slightly uncomfortable, and then flipping something that is far more refined in its feel. The spine of the blade, oh my gosh, it's like I'm chaplaining a cloud. I cannot describe how soft and pillowy and velvety this feels in comparison to this on this chaplain. That is insane. Oh my gosh, the Slift T. Okay, maybe the Slift T is incredible. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just the fact that it's the Slift T, it's made by MachineWise, it's one of the best machined things in the hobby. What about something that's maybe not machined as perfectly? How about the Superfly? The Superfly is still machined really well, don't get me wrong, but we're not in... Yeah, that still feels like velvet. That is crazy. The stitch is going to feel... Yep, also... Oh, that's even better than the Superfly. That is like... It's like chaplaining a pillow. It's incredible. And I know people are going to be... There's going to be that one person out there who's like, wait, you're flipping a knife. You're not doing this for comfort. But let's be real here, guys. You're flipping a Balisong, some of you, for hours and hours a day. I said, I'll flip for, an hour a day. And people in the video where I recommended, learn to walk before you can run, I was like, even if you just do it for an hour a day, and people were like, an hour? I flip for 7-8 hours a day. You're not flipping the Zika for 7-8 hours a day without developing blisters, the likes of which you have never seen. So comfort is genuinely something that is super important on a Balisong. We will see how that develops. Maybe I'll get used to it. Maybe it'll be something where I show up to the follow-up video and I'm like, hey guys, it really wasn't that much of an issue past like day 4 or 5. But then again, maybe I also show up to that video with blisters all over my finger. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. As it stands right now, my first impressions are this is a knife with an excellent balance at a pretty decent price for its specs, and it being a really cool collaboration between 3 different makers in the hobby. I genuinely do like flipping it. It's just the comfort is a huge sore spot, no pun intended, for me right now. So we'll see how that develops. I would like to give a huge, huge thank you to Ted for sending this thing out so that I can check it out and spend some time with it. I would like to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Later. Oh my gosh.